Testing. Okay. Is it recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay, good.
Sweet. Hey, everybody.
Hey, welcome to the
Love Her Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in yet again another week.
We're here. We're back.
We're back.
As usual, it took us some struggle to get here, but we made it.
We're happy to be back this week, and we are so fortunate that you guys are continuing along this journey with us.
Yeah, so I think at this point, new year, it's January. I think that we all are talking about change. Yeah. Everyone has resolutions, and everyone just kind of wants to be better than they were last year.
Yeah, it's something with us being women in our 20s in this country. There's been so much change going on, and we just kind of want to talk about how we cope with it and how we kind of continue to navigate it and what we're doing to kind of move forward.
Yeah, and I feel like I've actually realized lately that change is so important. Yeah. I've always liked change, actually, but I feel like now at this point in life, after you graduate college, who likes change and who doesn't like change becomes so obvious because some people are moving leaps and bounds and some are not. And that's like no judgment toward those people. It's just, I think in order for us to really grow and be our best selves, we have to embrace change.
See, I'm actually somebody that doesn't like change.
Really?
Yeah. I know that I need it for my growth as a human being and just a woman in general, that change is good for me, but it makes me so anxious to think about change, to be in situations where I feel like it's sporadically changing. I don't know. I think it has a lot to do with not really having stability growing up, because I feel like a lot of my life was a constant change and I had no control over it. So I wanted so badly for stability, and now that I'm in a space where I feel like I can kind of give that to myself, the idea of changing that and changes happening, I'm like, oh, here we go again. And I think that feeling kind of comes about. And I think that, people that kind of feel that way about change might have similar stories where change has not always been something that has been felt relieving for them. It's been something that's been more so chaotic. At least that's how it's been for me. So when I think of it, I'm like still kind of working through what changes have happened in my past that weren't as relieving as I wish that they would have been.
But see, I feel like you're open to positive changes.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I feel like you're very accepting of, like, new chapters in terms of, like, okay, where am I going to make my next income? Like, what am I doing for this travel trip? I feel like when it comes to those kind of changes, you embrace them.
I mean, you got to. At this point, if I'm not embracing them, I'm literally just going, like, what am I doing? So, yeah, I totally see that. And I think it's because of something that I've learned being in my 20s is that life is just going to keep moving, and if you are going to allow yourself to sit in the rut of, oh, like, we have to do this again and whatever, it gets me nowhere. Like, I get nowhere in that, and I did learn that in the last 5 years of my life moving into my 20s, because even getting out of high school, I was in a situation where, I don't know if I ever told you this, but my father, actually, when I was applying to schools, I wanted to go to school in my hometown, and sorry, Dad, if you're watching this.
Wait, high school or college?
High school. I wanted to go to college, like, in my hometown. Like, I wanted to go to school in Virginia Beach. There was, like, a community college there because I hated change. Like, I wanted to stay put. And I was totally fine with that. I loved my friends. I loved the city I was in. I had no desire to ever leave. But my dad was leaving, who's moving to Texas, and my mom lived in Georgia. And my dad was a very protective parent. So growing up, he would always, like, if your parents aren't in the same state as you, city, whatever, he didn't like that. Like, it made him anxious about me. And so he told me, he was like, you either go and stay with your mom in Georgia or you come to Texas with me, but you're not staying here. Like, I'm not just going to leave you here. And I think that was his own anxiety that he had to work through as a parent. But he only gave me two options. He was like, you either go there or you go here. And that was not something that I wanted.
Yeah.
I was like, crap, like, I have zero desire to up and move and meet new people. And like I said, I didn't like change. So I ended up moving to Georgia, staying with my mom and going to school there, and I haven't left since. But those moments like that, going into my 20s, I had so many, like, panic attacks when it came to change, and it really did put me in ruts, especially like my freshman year. There were just so many things that happened within that time that put me in a very low space, where once I did start to go to therapy and heal, and I really told myself, like, there is no point in you continuing to be in this rut. Like, change is going to happen. And there were so many aspects of my life that I feel like still at that point I didn't have control over, that I had no choice but to just keep rolling with the goddamn punches. So now at 25, it is something that I do. I do take a much more positive approach to it, because I feel like that is what has helped me shift and be a more positive person. So it's interesting that you point that out. Yeah.
I feel like there's also something to be said about changes that feel so forced. I feel like for me personally, like, I grew up in a very chaotic home. Like, my home was basically a hospital. My brother Avery, he was alive for 10 years, and he was in the hospital 100 times. Yeah. So it
wasn't over 100? Did you count exactly?
Over 100,
yes. Okay, yeah.
So every time that would happen, it would just be unexpected, and I had to just deal with it. Yeah. But then as I became older, I became very empowered by the fact that I could make changes on my own, ones that weren't defined by my brother's sickness or my mom or my dad. Yeah. So I decided to go to college away because I was like, I need to just get away from the toxicity. Like, I need to, I needed the change from having that stressful environment. And once I did, when I first went to college, it was like a shock to me. I remember everyone was like, you're going to feel so homesick. You're going to miss home. And I kept waiting for that to come, and it just never did. Yeah. Because being on my own was so
It was peaceful. Positive. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And now I'm always, and again, maybe this is to a fault. I like change, but I have to stop myself sometimes and be like, okay, settle in the moment. Okay. Because I'm always thinking of what's the next thing to improve my life? What's my next step? What am I doing? Right. And I have to constantly remind myself that it's
okay to be still.
Yeah, it's okay to just not think about the future sometimes.
Yeah. And that's funny that you say that. When you made that change, so many people were almost fearful for you, but every single change that has happened, I don't regret it.
No, never.
I've never regretted it, because that's how life works. Like, every single thing that happens in your life happens for a reason. And if changes are suddenly occurring and it almost feels like, for me, if it feels like it's something that I can't control and I just have to keep rolling with it, it has always been for a reason. And for you, I think that you are so in tune that, like, you also know when change needs to happen. And you know that, like, this is going to be a good move, you know? So I think it's important that more of us lean into that mindset of really trusting yourself and trusting your abilities, trusting your heart, and trusting where you're going is meant to be, because life has got to keep moving.
It has to. I always say, like, especially when something difficult happens, life is like a train. Yeah. And you can either choose to stay at the station or get on the stop.
Yeah. And if you stay at the station, what, you're just going to sit there staring? Or you go back to the place that, didn't really do much for you. Yeah. Which is so true. And that's kind of, to my point where I was like, I found out in the last 5 years that I'm not staying at the station.
No,
I can't stay at the station moping. I just need to keep going. And that's where my mindset shifted. Yeah.
And once you get on the train, you can sit and collect yourself and say, okay, what happened?
Yeah. And then you kind of get a sense of, like, relief. Like, we're going to be okay. Yeah. It's going to be okay. And I kind of want to shift that into what's kind of going on with everything in the world, because it is a lot. It's heavy. There's so many things. There's war. There are fires. Like, literally everything that could happen. War, fire, new president that feels like a dictator. Can we say that on here? Yeah. I mean, for me, it feels like, the way that he approaches things feels... I am fearful of the way that he speaks and the way that he kind of handles situations. But, like, all of these shifts happening, I could easily and did... kind of get to a point where I was like, this is a lot. It's overwhelming me. I don't know what we're going to do. But because of the patterns of change and the things that have happened, I feel like our world, our country needs this shift. We need this slap in the face. We need something to kind of bring about all of this change so that we can see the positive side on the other end.
We do. And I think for each of us that want to look at life optimistically, it's about looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, what can I do?
Yeah, what can we do?
How can I be a better human in society? How can I treat others with respect? And like, this country is so big. There's so many different types of people, so many different beliefs, but I truly do believe that the changes that we can make to impact our society are as simple as complimenting a person that we see on the street.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be this huge thing to begin with, obviously. And I feel like when we start to move with the little stuff, the big stuff comes. You know? Like for example, our healing journey. It starts off with like us dropping a little bit of positivity with somebody else, saying like for the story I told you earlier with the friends that I was with, they were like, Naya, you're so positive all the time. And I said to them, if you knew that the words that you were saying about yourself were spells and that is what is coming back to you, would you change what you say about yourself? Even just dropping little knowledge like that, now I'm sure every time they think, I'm so stupid. We are not. They change their words, you know, just like doing little things like that and dropping positivity and doing things that, you know, better yourself and other people, that will end up being a rippling effect. Yes. You know, for everybody around you, for the world, and
like, you have no idea. You could say one simple sentence and it could change someone's entire perspective. Yeah. I think we all had like that one teacher or friend that said one profound thing to us that we still remember to this day. Yeah. And not that we have to be on point or like philosophical at all times, but it's more so just about spreading that positive energy, because at the end of the day, people remember their energy. Yeah. And when they see that, it makes them want to change.
Yeah, exactly. And you know that obviously this is a story that I think a lot of people hear about, but you know how there are those moments sometimes where somebody's having a bad day and that might be their last day. And you just go up to them and you give them a smile. You go up to them and you say, I really think you look beautiful today. And so many times when you hear those stories, those people that were on the end, they were like at their breaking point, they say, that one person saved my life. Yes. And you think, and you're just being the positive, polite person that you are, and you just saved somebody's life. And I feel like that is such a small scale in the grand scheme of obviously of everything going on in the world. But imagine if we all did that. Yeah. If we all moved in that way.
We need to start. Yeah. It's not sustainable for us to live in this world where we walk by another person and we don't say hi. Yeah. Where we're cold toward one another. It's just, it's not how it's meant to be. I think that we all crave a sense of love, community, and compassion.
It's like a human innate. Yeah. What is it called?
Instinct.
Yes. We just there are certain things that we crave, and I wholeheartedly believe love, companionship, and happiness are things that we all crave, regardless. I mean, of course some people are in a rut, but I feel like deep down inside that's all what we want.
It is.
And why wouldn't you give somebody something that you were also craving on a day-to-day, you know?
I think, I actually used to not be, again, I've changed a lot the past few years just working with our mentor, but I used to be someone that really wasn't super loving. And I think it came from a place of me never really loving and accepting myself and my own truth. So I couldn't extend that to other people.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit more about how that has kind of shifted for you? In your 20s.
So I think that obviously we started working with the same mentor about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and I really realized that I had blocked myself from just feeling in general.
Like emotional block.
Yeah. Okay. My brothers died and I didn't give myself the space to grieve. I literally was at my brother's funeral and I was forcing down tears. I would not let myself cry because I just couldn't. I couldn't give into the emotion.
But it's like fight or flight for you too. That was like your way of coping. That was how I survived. Yourself. Yeah.
And it was how I fit in my family dynamic because I kind of had to be the stoic one. So I blocked myself from emotion for so many years. And I was getting to the point where I realized I was resentful of other people and the world. I was resentful at people that had lives that were easier than mine.
You were holding it in, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, well, how come you can feel this emotion, but I can't?
Right, yeah.
And so one day I had a breaking point, and I was in session with our mentor, and she just looked at me and she said, "You're really angry." And I just said, "I'm tired of being angry," and I broke down. And once that happened, we developed this strategy called feeling sessions, which is something that if any of you are someone that struggles to show emotion, this is key. It's set a timer for 20 minutes every night.
Yeah.
Have some peaceful music in the background, light some candles, really create the aura. And then you're going to just feel.
Yeah.
Think about the painful things. Cry. Let it out. You're going to wail.
Got to let it out.
Yes. You're going to wail. You're going to cry. It's going to feel weird to structure it, but that's how you have to do it in today's busy world. And once I started doing that, I stopped feeling as resentful toward others, and I could really lean into the love that I felt for myself and other people, and I could start to express it too.
Yeah. That's so fascinating that you say that, because we always talk about how we lived parallel lives, but so opposite, because I've always been one to feel. I overly feel. And so it's just fascinating to hear from somebody who didn't always feel. You know, like how you ended up having to almost force yourself to be grounded in the person that you are and understand that, like, it is okay for me to have these emotions, you know, because there's the opposite end of it where people that are so emotional, people are like, why are you so emotional? Like, get over it. You know what I mean? But then there's the end of, like, why are you so emotionless? Like, what is wrong with you?
Yes, it has to be a medium.
Exactly. Like, when you, and I think that's one thing we can learn from each other is, like, you know how to kind of turn off your emotions and keep going. Whereas, like, I'm so emotional that, like, I can't keep going because I have to sit and cry and whatever.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, I know how to easily turn on my emotions. If somebody in the room is like, I automatically know to go to them, and you may not always know, like, you're like, I don't know what to do here. But, like, the balance of the two extremes could be a very beautiful thing, you know? And I think we're having a little moment here, but
but I also think that, Naya, like, there's really something beautiful to be said about being so empathetic. And I honestly think as women, we should lean toward that way in general. Like, think about when you're really young, right? And you're upset about something, let's just say 5-6 years old.
Yeah.
All you want is for your mom to understand your emotions and hold you and cry.
Right.
And as women, we're not designed to be so closed off from our emotions. And I'm not saying I was wrong for surviving that way, but I'm saying the way that you feel deeply is a beautiful thing that I believe us women were designed to do.
Yeah, I definitely do, but I find it very beautiful. I definitely do, and I've learned to be proud of my empathy. I do want to say, though, I've learned being in my 20s, just surviving in America, in the corporate world, things like that, there is a sense of reading the space in the room where you kind of have to learn to turn it off.
Yeah.
I mean, the emotion is power. Empathy is power, and I don't want to negate myself for that, but like I said, I do admire those that can walk into a space and have zero emotion about anybody that's in that space. Like, I'll be in a work meeting, and if somebody talks about, oh, I had a really rough weekend, after the meeting, I want to go and talk to them about their weekend. But there are people that are like, oh, they had a rough weekend, I have shit to do here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I struggle to not be so empathetic, and now that's all I'm worried about. Now I'm like, let's go grab lunch. Let's talk about your weekend. Let's, you know, and I know that is a power of mine, but because I want to also have the balance of empathy and boss bitch. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to be both.
Let me ask you, though, I'm curious, when you are a super empathetic person, do you find it difficult when you're in a situation with a person that is pretty negative or toxic? Do you feel like you absorb it, or
all the time?
Oh, really?
I have a really hard time being friends and being in a space with people that are very negative, because I feel like I absorb absorb all of the emotions in a space. So it will, even if I have to remind myself, like, that's not mine. That is not me. All the time. Like, if somebody is stressed out, I am stressed. And I could have had the best day ever. I, like, literally have anxiety. And I'm like, how can I fix their issue? How can I make this better? Because I can't shake it. It's like, it's intense. So I have to constantly remind myself, this is not yours. This is not your emotion to carry. Get it off of you. And then I, like, obviously have to go meditate and, like, do my own thing and, like, go away. And then sometimes I will come back and say, like, is there anything I can do to help you? And obviously sometimes people don't know if there's anything to do. And then I have to tell myself, it is okay that there's no way to fix their emotion. It's being an empathetic person, an empath. I'm going to say, and being an empath is a gift, and it's not a curse. It's not a curse, but it is very much a gift, but it is a gift that is sometimes difficult to balance, for sure.
Yeah.
The shadow side. There's a shadow side to every gift.
To everything.
Yeah.
It's interesting because in those situations, what I do, like, just my instinct when I walk into a room and someone's negative or toxic is I can identify it, but then I, like, block it. I'm like, no. Yeah. Not to me. Like, I see it. I see why they're negative.
Yeah.
And that there's something going on with them, but I push it away.
Yeah. See, I try to fix it. And even, for example, when we're, like, planning things with the family, and if I feel like anybody in that space is going to react in a way that's opposite of positive, I immediately feel like I have to fix it. You know?
Yeah.
And have you noticed that? Like, I'm like, what do we do? I can't be in a space with somebody that's going to, like, hate it, be down, be sad, whatever. Like, how do we fix this? And that's the thing. Like, I do admire that you can just, like you kind of can navigate your empathy a little bit, you know? But
it's definitely a balancing act, but that's what everything is.
Anything is a balance, for sure. And that's something else I've learned just being in our 20s is so many aspects of life have to come with balance. Like, you can't drink too much water. You've got to have just enough water, you know? And that's something that we're still trying to navigate, is, like, what is our balance in relationships, in food, diets, you know, work? Like, what is a work-life balance? What is a travel balance? Because I would love to be a fairy and hop on a plane every single week, but I got bills to pay, you know? You know, just kind of finding that balance of this experience that we're all in together, you know?
And I think that balance looks different for each and every person, and that's what makes it almost tricky, because what works for you doesn't work for me, and works for me doesn't work for someone else.
But we can learn from each other too, which I find so beautiful, you know? Because, like we found out today, we are two very extremes, you know, and that's okay, but it is also so relieving knowing that I can text you and be like, hey, am I freaking out about this? And you'd be like, girl, like, it ain't that deep. I'm like, you're so right. But even with you, sometimes you'll message me and be like, I'm struggling with empathy here. Like, I need more words to kind of navigate the situation. And I think that's something else that we learned in our 20s, is having somebody to really lean on that you can trust and go through this with you. And if you don't have that person, set a goal to manifest that person in your life for you, because it really helps us so much in so many situations, because we could just continue to spiral. But I think it is so beneficial to have one another, to not judge and be in the space together and kind of work through all of the issues too. Obviously we have our life coach too, but
yeah, I think the importance of having someone else that gets it. Yeah. Because I find myself, especially in the workspace and just in public in general, I feel like a lot of people don't understand the way that I live my life, which is meditation and positivity and really just paving the best life ever. Yeah. I feel like not a lot of people get that. I feel like a lot of people are stuck in the hustle and bustle. And having you in Corinne and Karen, having them has been so positive in my life, and knowing that I have a group of girls that get it. Yeah.
And I don't know that we've talked about much about, obviously, the journey that we've taken within the last year or two, of just approaching life in a more spiritual way. Now, we're not, like, going to shove any of those ideals on anybody, but we do tend to navigate things through meditation, through, just like any form of spiritual work that works for us, and meditation is a very big thing for us. We are actually going to yoga after we do this recording, because that's just kind of what has helped us. So in these podcasts, you will hear us talk a lot about kind of the work that we do, because it is so much of our life.
It's so much. It's how it's a way of life for us.
Yes, it is truly a way of life for us. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask us, because we love talking about it. We will talk about it all day, literally. But I just wanted to kind of preface that, because I know that's we easily will talk about it, but other people obviously listening may not really understand that's how we move.
And I think also a lot of the things that we live our life with is activities and just qualities that most people would believe is genuinely good. Yeah. For example, we like to spend time in nature. Yeah. We like to eat healthy, good, nourishing foods. Mm-hmm. Meditation is an opportunity to just sit with yourself before the craziness of the day starts and not spend time on your phone in the morning. Yeah. A lot of what we're doing to elevate our lives is honestly just believing in ourselves and doing things that will get us to the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah, and using the resources that we have here on earth. Like meditation, grounding is literally just a practice of you sitting still, because that is free. That is like free
99
free therapy, a moment for you to just sit with yourself and really just ground and be able to find peace before the day starts. And it really makes a world of a difference. The days that I cannot meditate, I'm like, Lord, I needed to today, Yeah. So, yeah.
It really, I feel like it resets me too. Just having time by myself.
Yes.
With peaceful music on. And I take a bath every night too. And the girlies that get it. Baths are just amazing. And it's so relaxing. And I live my life in a way that is truly caring for myself.
Yeah. You have to. Because when you don't, you're not a good mother. You're not the best version of yourself in general. And that's such a huge part of navigating life, is being the best version of yourself, because the rest will come.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when I went home to New York to Luke's family's for Christmas, his mom was like, you do a lot for your mental health. That's amazing. And I'm like, I guess I do. Right. But this is just the life path that you and I have both chosen. And I honestly can't imagine living in any other way.
Yeah. Yeah. It really keeps me sane. Yeah. I thank God for it all the time, because it really keeps me sane. And I say thank God all the time, but I'm not that religious, guys. It's just a saying. But I'm not opposed to religion. I'm very open to so many things. And that's another thing that I think being on this journey has been really cool, is just understanding human beings in general. Yes. And how we operate and navigate. And we'll get more into that in other episodes. Yes. But I think that knowing that we are where we are today and kind of navigating who we've become with everything else going on in the world has helped us be grounded and be okay and kind of accept that this is what is going on and not spiral and not be afraid of change and really continue on the path of being the best version of ourselves.
And I think also us really honing in on our own individual journeys and seeing how much power we have in the choices that we make, in the positive changes that we make, has made navigating life in this time actually pretty beautiful. Yeah. Because we can see in the midst of everything that's going on, we can still choose joy.
Yeah, because you have the power to navigate your life. You are in control of your life. I was actually listening to a guided meditation the other day, and it kept reminding me that I have control over so many situations, and I'm one that doesn't really care about control. And even if you feel like you don't have control of the situation, you do have control over your reaction to the situation, how you decide to navigate the situation. I don't mean so much actually controlling all the people around you, but truly controlling you. Yes. Controlling how you decide to operate it and how you decide to move forward. You do have control of that, and that is your power as a human being living this experience.
Yes, and we have the power to be great.
Yeah.
And we're going to do it.
And we're going to do it. Honestly, guys, I think we have to go to yoga.
Yes, it's time for yoga.
It is. So Thank you guys so much for watching.
And honestly, this was an organic conversation.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time we sit down on a couch to talk like this, we learn more about each other.
We do. And it's so great. And we are so appreciative of everybody that decided to tune in again this week. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you. Love her.
Love her. Love Naya.
Love Janessa.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my God. I think it stopped. Oh, wait, did that stop too?